Didn't even have to cut it short this time. George, George is gracing you with his moves. Uh,
Yeah, those moves. All the chicks in high school, all none of them, not one, not a single one.
yeah, you never got turned down for that because you went to an all boys school.
Yeah,
It's hey, I'm Justin. This is George. I actually meant to do the soft intro, but this was even more fun this time. At Justin FF underscore at George Reed FF because he does not like the underscores. And
no,
this show is brought to you by joinrival.com/title tribe, where your first deposit of up to $200 will be matched, plus an additional $25 just for using that link. And if you're worried that the football season is coming up to an end here pretty soon, they also do sports betting with fantasy sports betting, mind you, with the NBA and Major League Baseball as well. We even dropped our first Major League Baseball short on the network YouTube channel earlier today, I believe it was. If not, it was definitely yesterday. But our man Sean is going to be doing some baseball content for us during this NFL offseason, if you want to call it that. Like Coach keeps telling everybody, the majority of our team works even more hard in the off season than we do in the regular season. It's mostly for guys like this guy over here that loves to run the mock draft laboratories, and guys like Coach and Joe that are madmen with the NFL draft, and then guys like me that like to constantly search the contract negotiations and the free agents market. Like, guys, we're still busy in the off season. All right, we're still
busy.
bringing you everything that you guys want to see, and if we're not, tell us and we'll bring it to you. I promise.
Yep,
Um, so George, the Gilded Chat, man, that's been popping this week.
it absolutely has. We got over 200. I think we're close to like 250 members in there. Talking sports, football, life. Uh, get in there. I can give you life advice. Like it's an absolutely awesome community that we have that we've been. Costs absolutely nothing to join. We can help you during the regular season, as Justin mentioned. This is most likely the last week before playoffs. Then we'll be able to help you with your playoffs, and then throughout the whole off season, Justin and I are going to be doing. Well, Justin's taking shots of cough medicine, which is actually pretty cool. Excuse me, but we'll be able to help you with your off season. Are we doing the Senior Bowl again this year? Do you know? I know last year a bunch of us
I
went.
Yeah, I don't think that Coach or myself are planning on going this year.
Okay.
Obviously, if anybody from the team wants to go, then we're all for it, and we'll do our best to try to help get your credentials. Um, but we do have a lot in the works for the Fantasy Football Expo in August. Stay tuned for that. We've got some pretty big news possibly coming down the pipeline. I've been in constant email with Bob Lung, the guy that directs and runs that entire thing. And actually, we had Bob Lung on last season just
Yep.
before the expo to talk more about it. And from that conversation, I can honestly say that it's actually more his wife that runs a lot of it. But um, so thank you, Mrs. Lung. but
It's
but no,
kind. It's
Bob
kind of
is.
like. It's kind of like Lori. She does all the behind the scenes work for Totally Titles, and Justin's here just being the pretty face, stealing all the credit.
Yep. Yeah, these 3 pages of notes I have for tonight's show was all her. But no,
If
that's
the
not true.
handwriting is if the handwriting is legible, we know it was her.
Hey, right. I was actually going to make a comment about how we know it's not hers because I can't even read my own handwriting. All right,
There you
but
go.
anyhow, so this is our TGIF. This is our breakdown of the injury news. And so just to try to get more viewers in, since this is our first and only live version of this, because this is the finale of TGIF for the season finale, the end of season 2, by the way. Last season, I believe it
Yep.
was like week 3 or 4, George, you came up with this idea, and we rolled with it. We had about 10 episodes last season and about 13 this season. It's been really fun. It's been interesting. And But since this is the only live, I tried to entice people to come on and watch the live. So if you are a Patreon member, you already know that Tuesday night we do a giveaway for a Yeti tumbler. And we're doing that every Tuesday in the month of December because Shepsy Claus is coming to town and he's feeling generous. So for tonight's episode of this live, if you there is a way to send us a monetized donation next to the comment section right there, just to the right of the little comment section. If you're logged into your account, you'll see like it looks like a little dollar sign or a dollar emblem icon. You click on that, you send a donation of any amount, and I'm going to write your name down. You're going to get an extra entry into this Tuesday night's Yeti tumbler giveaway. So I hear the typing. I don't know what's going on there, but I just want to throw that out there for anybody that's viewing this right now.
I should
And
hit the mute button when I'm typing, huh? That's my fault.
I might mention it again, partly through the show because we only have a couple of viewers on right now. But but anyhow, let's get on with the injury updates. So, George, we typically utilize the fantasy doctors, and that's the fantasydoctors.com. They have a spreadsheet on there, and you pay big money every month to be a part of that. And by that I mean it's only like enough for a cup of coffee. It's not that expensive, and you should subscribe as well. But they have not updated. We're starting to think that maybe they're not going to update it anymore. But luckily I went in, I did a whole bunch of research. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the quarterbacks. I'm going to read these off, and then if you have any comments, George, about these, maybe who to start to replace them, or what the game looks like without them, whatever. Our boy Duarte is in the comments section. What's up, my man? And actually, you know what, Duarte? Send me a DM. Send me a DM on Gilded because I have a question for you, my man. And actually, you know what?
I'll tell you, he doesn't want the cooler. He said, "Go ahead and give it to that George guy." That's what he's going to tell.
No, actually, you know what? Instead of, and don't even worry about the DM. I'm just gonna ask you right here. Would you like to come on with me tonight to do friendly fire, Duarte? Because my man Nate is going to be a no-show again. His son's still sick, and I wanted to give an opportunity for a Patreon to step up. And since Duarte and I have a bet every single week, the last few weeks he's been sending me rival bets, and I've been accepting them. If you have a webcam and if you have the ability to click on an internet link, man, you can come on with me, and we'll do an episode tonight. Just put it in the comments if you're able to or not. And if not, no big deal. I'm sure I can probably get George or Rich or somebody to do it with me tonight or tomorrow or whatever. George loves doing all of these shows. So, but I'm sure I can find somebody. But I wanted to give you the opportunity first, Duarte, just as a avid Patreon member. So just let us know in the comments if you can go or not. Let's see. So the quarterbacks, we've got Geno Smith. This is a late recent ad. He's been limited in 2 practices so far this week with a groin injury. And this isn't something that popped up during the game unless it unless it did, and he just didn't show the signs and played through it. Most likely popped up during practice. Limited in practice this week. We don't really know a whole lot about this injury, but this is where I like to plug the Sunday morning show, Title Time, on Sunday mornings, usually with George, Rich, and Jason. Rich is working for the rest of the season, so Pete Sandoval, our boy Pete, has been stepping in for Rich, and he will again this week. I'm going to be stepping in for George and Jason and hosting the show this week. Duarte is going to be on the road, so he's not going to be able to fill in with me, but I just thought I'd offer, man. No worries. You're fine. No apologies necessary. So we are trying to find a third right now to step in on the show with us for Sunday morning, but tune in Sunday morning. We'll have a more recent update on Geno Smith. But for now, yeah, very hard to trust Drew Lock, the backup there. That he has enough weapons that he could at least be somewhat fantasy relevant in 2 quarterback leagues if you're desperate. But with only 2 teams on bye and this late in the season, I doubt you're that desperate that you really need to worry about it. Let's see. Trevor Lawrence, ankle injury, game time decision. So it looked like he sprained his ankle, and Coach Doug Peterson said that he is a game time decision come Sunday. Again, that's another Title Time uh, uh, last minute decision that you're going to have to possibly make. That one's a little bit tougher to fill. Maybe Kenny
You
Pickett
know,
had.
you know what
Well, yeah,
irritates real quick. I don't. I'm going to cut you off real quick. You know
no,
what
you're good.
irritates me about the whole Trevor Lawrence thing? Like, I live in Florida. I know almost everywhere has a golf cart, except for apparently the Jacksonville Stadium,
Oh
where
yeah,
they
I
apparently
saw
they
that.
don't have any carts whatsoever, and they make him walk to the locker room with his arms wrapped around a security guard and another coach or a trainer to all the way to the locker room. Like they couldn't even get a cart out for this guy, and you're gonna make him
Right.
limp all the way to the locker room. Come on, Jacksonville, be better than that.
Yeah, I agree. I even made that same comment to Lori while we were watching the game. I was like, and I'm a Colts fan, so like I have like no reason to
You have
ever
knowledge
root
of
for the
quarterbacks
Jaguars.
needing to be on the. You've seen quarterbacks on carts before, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. No, what I was trying to say is something nice, and that, like, even with him being a rival's quarterback, like, you don't want to see a guy getting treated like that. Trying to, I mean,
No,
he's already walking on a sprained ankle. Like that could not have made it better. At
no.
least put something on it and give him some ice. And I don't know. That was it was rough. It was rough watching.
Just saying, I
Kenny,
don't think he plays this weekend, though. I just want to throw that out there.
no,
He's
yeah,
not
no.
playing this weekend.
Yeah, they said it's a game time decision. I think that's just kind of coaches speak. I agree with you.
Yeah,
Kenny
yeah.
Pickett had
They're not
tightrope.
showing their hand.
Yeah, all right, I think you're on a delay. Kenny Pickett had tightrope surgery. He had this done on his other ankle previously, and he missed about 3 weeks. So if he's on the same trajectory, he did miss this week, Thursday night football. So he'll likely miss at least two more, but it's pretty much more likely that he'll miss 3 more weeks. So that's going to get us deep into the fantasy playoffs, and it's Kenny Pickett, so you probably weren't super reliant on him anyway. Derek Carr, concussion and rib issues, but he has been cleared to play for Week 14. So Derek Carr is going to start in Week 14. That's somewhat recent news that they broke earlier today and after practice. Jalen Hurts, left knee sprain. Week 14 is slightly in question, but not really. He's going to play, guys. Is there anything else within the quarterbacks or anything in that grouping that you'd want to talk about, George?
I'm leery of Derek Carr. I know that they're going to. I know they're saying he's going to start this weekend, um, but just the injuries are starting to pile up. If you have a better option than Derek Carr, which is really not saying a whole lot, I might look elsewhere. He hasn't been very effective anyway. This is the week before the playoffs start. If most people, you're probably staring down a must-win situation. Unless you're me, you really don't want to have to choose between Derek Carr and say somebody like Tommy DeVito. So don't do what I did. Have better quarterbacks. But if I'm not trusting Derek Carr this weekend. If it comes down to it, I'll start Tommy DeVito over Derek Carr.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's a rough combination right there. uh, let's see. Running backs, we have Charbonnet and Walker. So here's the update that I was able to find on Charbonnet and Walker. Both of them are considered game time decisions versus the Niners this week. Both of them missed practice on Wednesday. Both of them had limited practices on Thursday. Both of them had full practices on Friday. But the coach is saying that both of them are also still true game time decisions. Both of them still have a little ways to go. And there's a concern that one or both of them could possibly miss this week. So it's against the San Francisco 49ers. If one of them is out, I kind of feel like the other one would it if one of them does play, the one that does play is still maybe a flex option at best against San Francisco, low end RB2 maybe if you're desperate. But if they both play, I have no problem with sitting both of them because of the injuries and the combination with San Francisco. Obviously, depends on what your other options are, and you want to tune in Sunday morning for title time. But what do you think about that situation, George, with the Seahawks backfilled with the injuries the way they are?
Oh, I don't really want to trust anybody in that backfield, especially going up against the 49ers in San Francisco this week. San Francisco is one of, if not the best, uh, run defensive teams in the NFL. So I get it. It's a division game. But the way that the 49ers are playing right now, like, I want to go elsewhere if that option is available. Like, I would look at both of those guys as nothing more than a flex at best.
Yeah. Yeah. Another combination here with two running backs hurt: Brian Robinson with a hamstring and Antonio Gibson with the turf toe. Now, fortunately, they are on bye this week, so that's going to kind of help both of them. But I
Yep.
still wanted to mention them because for one, we're not going to be recording this show after this week. So moving forward into the playoffs, there's still some relevance here because Gibson will likely be a go for Week 15. His issue was just turf toe. He's slowly been trying to come back from it. He's been playing hurt on it, and he was still pretty effective in Week 13. So if Brian Robinson, who is a lot less likely to go because it's a hamstring and those things can be tricky, if Brian Robinson is unable to go, that makes Gibson a workhorse running back. So even with a rough schedule, a rough playoff schedule for the Commanders, I got to say, if he's a workhorse back, he's definitely worth rostering, and he's probably going to be a low-end RB2, high-end flex option for you in Antonio Gibson. I mean, if Brian Robinson is indeed out for an extended period of time. But since they're on bye this week, they don't have to report anything specific about the hamstring injury other than just he still has it. So they're not going to report anything specific. So for that,
And
since we're not going to do this show next week, make sure you tune in on the Gilded Chat and check with us on that before you set your lineups. Yeah, George.
uh, another thing to be mindful of when we're compiling these lists and we're talking about these guys that showed up on the injury report,
Yeah,
if they get any type of treatment, like if they go into the facility and they get some Advil because they have, a hamstring pain or a calf pain, or they just tweak their ankle walking into the building and they want some Motrin for it or something like that, technically per NFL league rules, they're required to report that and put them on the injury list. So any type of treatment whatsoever. So keep that in mind that yeah, these guys are showing up on the injury report. Most likely 95 to 97% of the time they're on the injury report, but they're going to play. Especially this late in the season where really nobody is actually healthy. Like all
right,
these guys are all banged up. They all got bruises, they got scrapes, they got strains, they got pulls, they got tweaks. But, if they get any type of treatment for that, they have to be reported um, per the league rules. So that's one thing to consider. And unless it's something that we've seen them injure in a game and not come back from, or unless it was something where they popped up on the injury report this late in the week. Like I'm going to say, for example, let's say Devon A. Chain. They've got him listed down here with a knee injury. We knew he's had a knee injury. He played last week with it, but he's still showing up on the injury report because when he came into the facility this week, he was still getting treatment for the
right,
knee injury he sustained weeks ago. So
right.
most likely he's going to play, but we still have to talk about it because he's on the report. So
Right. Well,
95, 97% of the time they're going to play. That's just something to keep in mind.
we don't have to talk about it. It's not one of them that I was going to mention. But no, I see what you're saying. And guys, when he says that, he doesn't mean Brian Robinson. That's obviously
Yeah.
definitely a hamstring issue. But that's definitely knowledge that we need to know. And we had a few more viewers in there, so I wanted to remind you guys again, like I did at the top of the show, if you're a Patreon and you're trying to go for the Yeti tumbler that we're giving away on Tuesday night, then you can earn an extra entry by looking next to the comment section. There's a little icon, a little logo, looks like $1. It just looks like $1 on the icon. Click on that and send any kind of a donation to us right now, and I'll write your name down, and you will be entered an extra entry into trying to win that Yeti tumbler on Tuesday night. You'll still have to be tuned in Tuesday night to win, and make the comment there to have your entry then, but then you'll have two entries to everybody else's one. So just throwing that out there. The next one I have on here is Derrick Henry. Now, Derrick Henry was knocked out for several seconds in Week 13, or at least he appeared to be. And I was watching that game because it was against the Colts. He was evaluated for the concussion, and then he passed the evaluation and went back out into the game into the second half. So the only thing I can think of is that he must have that new condition that's called the Tua back spasms of some kind, where it just looks like a really severe concussion, but it really wasn't, and they sent him back out there. So I don't really know what happened there, but supposedly he cleared concussion protocol after getting knocked out, and he's good to go for this weekend. And George, you want to comment about my shot at your quarterback there, or?
No, listen. I'm done talking about injuries to Tua. It's just a weak argument at this point. I mean, here we are going into week 13. He's played every single game. He's playing at an elite, damn near MVP level. You could talk about it if you want. It's not going to bother me none at all.
Yeah, no, he's definitely proven that it's not a long-term issue with him to be able to come back, and because he's taken some hits this year that he's hopped right back up from. So we're all grateful to see that. I was making a shot at the fact that he actually had a concussion last year when they said he didn't, but that was
He
last
did.
year.
That's you saying it. According to the doctors who went to school, who cleared him, who looked at him, who observed him, who checked his symptoms, said he didn't.
Yeah.
Those guys
Mhm.
over somebody on a stream somewhere.
That watched him get knocked out. Okay. So Stevenson, Ramondre Stevenson, out the rest of your fantasy playoffs, most likely. Now, that's not definite, but most likely. Ramondre Stevenson out for the rest of your playoffs. And we got to see last night that Zeke Elliott has still got some juice left in the tank, especially after being a backup all season. His legs are still fresh. So if you have any fab left, and if Zeke Elliott is still available, then you're pouring all of the rest of your fab to get him. Probably whether you need a running back or not, because at this stage in the game, you're going up against other teams in the playoffs that might need a running back, right? So, in my opinion, I'm pouring 100% of my fab into Zeke Elliott. Am I missing on that at all, George, or is there something I'm missing with Zeke that maybe we shouldn't pour all of our fab into him?
No, at this point in the game, if you have any fab left, it's worth dumping it all on Zeke if he's available. Um, After watching what he was able to do last night against the Steelers defense, and listen, the Steelers defense is not the 85 Bears. I get that, but let's not pretend that they are, a bottom 25 uh, defense either in the NFL. Like they're
Right.
not. They're a solid defense. They're an okay defense. They're right there in the middle of the pack. And the history of the Patriots, it's always going to be run the ball. That's what they want to do, especially when you're talking about Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones or Malik Willis at quarterback. Like the more you can get production out of your running back, the more you don't have to put the ball into their hands to win the game. The more you can lean on the run, lean on that defense. That's what the Patriots are going to want to do. That's their winning formula, and he's going to be the workhorse there. We seen it last night. Over 23 PPR fantasy points. He's worth every penny at this point that you got left.
Jonathan Taylor still out at least 1 to 4 more weeks. I still say that there's a really good chance that we won't see him until at least our fantasy championship week, or maybe even not until the actual NFL playoffs, mostly because he likes to be very cautious with his injuries. And he wants to make sure that he's 100% and ready to go out there, much like Justin Jefferson. And since I brought up Justin Jefferson, I'm not on the wide receivers yet, but he's back this week, baby. Justin Jefferson is back. TJ Hawkinson, who I'm not talking tight ends, but I'm going to talk about him, should be back to 100%. You've noticed a little bit of a dip the last couple weeks that he played, and then he had his bye week, and now he's got Justin Jefferson opening the field up for him. Guys, sky's the limit for these two, which obviously really helps Joshua Dobbs as well. I'm excited about Justin Jefferson coming back, because in the draft night out from Canton that George was working the booth at. George, Jason, and Rich were killing it there. I'm killing it in that league. I am the number 1 seed. I got that locked in no matter what happens this week. And I drafted Justin Jefferson with the first overall pick. I was fortunate enough to get the 101, and I took Justin Jefferson. So even without having him most of the season, and I'm in a good spot where this game doesn't matter to me. So even if he comes out slow with rust on him, a loss isn't going to matter. I'm still going to have the number 1 seed, and I got Justin Jefferson coming back. So I'm in a great shape to try to win that Travis Etienne jersey there, George, that you guys at Break from the Grind donated for the cause. So greatly appreciate you guys.
No
Um,
problem.
and
Congratulations.
Brees Hall expected to play, but you should temper your expectations. The ankle still isn't right, and neither are the Jets. Um, so he's almost not startable, to be honest with you. Like, depending on your situation, depending on what other options you have, there's a chance you're not starting Brees Hall through the fantasy playoffs unless he starts getting right. Maybe Zach Wilson helps a little because he did seem to play a little better with Zach Wilson somehow. But I guess we'll have to see there. Travis Etienne. Speaking of Etienne, I was trying to win that jersey. His ankle has him limited in practice all week, and if he does play, the next 2 weeks are against the Browns and the Ravens, so you can expect a dip in his production as well. And then Kareem Hunt currently has no injury designation headed into Week 14 against the Jags, so he should be back to splitting carries with Jerome Ford. Oh, wait, one more running back. Aaron Jones finally made it back to practice today, but he missed the first half of practice and then was very limited in the second half. He's still not likely to play this week or probably even next week, but he did state today that he does feel like he's starting to get closer to being back on track. He said that after practice today. So, again, still no Aaron Jones this week, but what do you think of that grouping of running backs there? Is there anything I missed or any other running backs out there you want to talk about?
Brees Hall, you touched on him a little bit.
Mhm.
Man, a guy I had really high hopes for this season. I expected him to come on, start slow, split carries with Dalvin Cook, and as the season went along, just take over that backfield. And in a
Yeah.
way, that's kind of happened. But the problem is he's seeing so many loaded boxes, like 8, 9 guys in the box, because that just offense is just so inept. Like the quarterbacks are just that bad. Man, it's
Yep.
it's very difficult to trust Brees Hall at this point. He's got some good matchups coming up, but man, I benched him literally this week for who did I bench him for in our rival league for Jalen Warren. Like I couldn't get him in the lineup above Jalen Warren or Rashard White. Like I
Yeah.
would have
And
I would have started Chris Godwin over him or DeAndre Swift over him for because of their matchups, and it's just it sucks because he's Brees freaking Hall.
Jalen Warren only scored 8 points last night in PPR. That still might be
Yep.
better than what I'm expecting with Brees Hall. Like, I get it, dude. I get it. It's a tough decision. It's a tough situation. And you drafted Brees Hall somewhat high because of Aaron Rodgers being there. Like
Yep.
it just sucks. It just goes to
And
show you, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good in fantasy, right?
yeah, I mean it absolutely is. I mean, pouring one out for Brees Hall over here.
All right. Speaking of pouring one out, our man Tank Dell has gotten many of us
Oh,
into a really good position with the fantasy football playoffs. A lot of us we took flyers on him early, maybe even in the draft, hoping that he would be the one between him and Nico Collins and Robert Woods. We all knew one of them was going to stand out and be the number one. We all kind of went our separate ways when we made our decisions. Some of us took the path of Tank Dell. Some of the people that took the path of Tank Dell had dropped him early on or during bye
yep.
weeks, and then others were able to jump on and take that chance because their Nico Collins or their Robert Woods didn't work out, and they still wanted a piece of that offense. Either way, you've been rewarded. And now we get bit, right? So, unfortunately, it's Tank Dell, really promising future ahead. If it's Dynasty, you're obviously holding him. You're not selling. And maybe you're trying to buy from a team that has him that is in a contender situation but needs a wide receiver, and you've got Cooper Cup or somebody like that still has a big name. Maybe you try to send them to him, but this is season-ending fibula fracture. But I can't say enough good things about Tank Dell. We got to interview him at the Senior Bowl. It seemed like a
Yep.
super bright kid, and the future looks. I call him a kid. I know he's a grown man, guys. But to me, all of the people there, they were just graduating college. They were all kids to old guys like me and George.
Yeah. Did,
So
did
no
did we talk
disrespect
about
there.
did we talk about Isaiah Pacheco? How he's not going to be playing this week? Did we
Oh, I
miss
did
him?
not. No, I did
Okay,
not.
good
That's
call.
my bad. Thank you, Duarte. Appreciate you.
Isaiah
um,
Pacheco, he's going to be out this week. He's not playing. Um, CEH is officially getting the start. I picked up CEH in my home league and put him right into my starting lineup. It's a decent matchup against the Bills. One thing the Bills do have is a very soft run defense. Um, I'm not expecting a huge game out of him. I'm just expecting him, be able to put up at least an RB2 type game. Hopefully, he can get in for a touchdown. He's also playing for a contract. He's a unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. So hopefully, this is his chance and his opportunity to show, hey, I actually do have some juice. I've got some skills that can help a team going forward into next year. So hopefully, uh, Pacheco will come back healthy in a week or two. But excuse me, for now, CEH is the guy.
and I am a noted CEH. I don't want to call hater, but definitely, yeah, I'm kind of a hater. But you're right with this matchup with Buffalo, and not only that, but another thing I've noticed with Buffalo is they're kind of weak with giving up receptions out of the backfield.
Yep.
And if there is a bright spot to CEH, or at least probably his best aspect, would be his ability to catch the ball in the backfield. And he's not even that good at that. But with the matchup at hand, I think that there is a good solid chance. He's definitely flex worthy. Don't get me wrong. This week he's definitely flex worthy, and he has that touchdown potential in that offense.
Yep.
Anybody could score at any time. Um, so yeah, I don't hate the start this week. And I can be convinced otherwise. I've been somewhat convinced that it's not always necessarily never Sutton. Sometimes it's Sutton, and we've learned that on title time because it's like the 4 times I came on the show this year, it just happens to be the 4 weeks he has a really good matchup. But anyway, um, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is in concussion protocol. There was a team official today that stated that he's still in the protocol and that we need to check back again tomorrow, which would be Saturday, to see if he's still in the protocol or not. So this might be another one of those situations where we may not find out until Sunday morning. So tune into Title Time again for that one. Puka Nacua has an AC sprain. This is likely a grade 1 because of the fact that he came back into the game after injuring it. If it's a grade 1, then it's just a what do they call it, a pain tolerance thing. And if he can tolerate the pain like he did when he went back into the game and still caught several passes, then there's a really high likelihood that he's probably going to play in week 14. And honestly, on a level 1, it doesn't seem like that's usually an issue. It usually kind of goes away within a few weeks, and
They'll
so we should be good
they'll
there.
they'll shoot they'll shoot him up with a little bit of Halidol and to numb that shoulder, and he'll be fine.
There you go. There you go. Let's see. Christian Kirk. Hate to see this one, man. Sports hernia. At this point, he's droppable in all redraft formats because he's going to be out at least 6 to 8 weeks. So that's that's into the NFL playoffs, much less your fantasy playoffs.
Yep.
So that gives a bump to the other two wide receivers there for the Jaguars. Christian Watson, yet another hamstring strain. This is the 5th hamstring strain for Christian Watson since 2021. He's likely to miss this week, mostly because of the fact that it's his 5th. Like, even if it's just something small and minor, they can't take the chance. He's going to most likely have to sit out at least a week just to make sure. That's not definite yet. So, but I don't trust him. Like, if he does play, I don't trust him. Um, so, uh, um, give me Jaden Reed. I want
There you
Jaden Reed
go.
this week, especially if Watson is out. But even if Watson plays, give me Jaden Reed. He's got to be the go-to guy. AJ Brown has a quad injury, but it's not a concern. I went to look up an update to see how that quad injury is doing in practice, and all the news reports wanted to talk about was his matchup against the Cowboys. So it doesn't sound like anybody's at all concerned about his injury, so I'm not either. Cooper Kupp, I mentioned him earlier as a sell guy. He's been playing on 2 ankle sprains, and we've noticed like he only had 1 ankle sprain. And then Carson Wentz joined the team as the backup quarterback, and now all of a sudden he has 2 ankle sprains. So I think he's on that Carson Wentz workout regiment. So Cooper, get off of that regiment. We can't trust Cooper Kupp moving forward until he starts to get healthier, until these ankles start to get better. So we hate to see it. Let's see. And then I have down JJ's back, and I'll say it again. Justin Jefferson's back this week. George, on the wide receivers, anything I missed? Duarte in the comments on the wide receivers, anything I missed?
Come on, Duarte. Tell us about Julio Jones. Tell him how he missed Julio Jones and his chronic knee injuries, his knee sprain.
It doesn't
But
count if it's
no,
arthritis.
yeah, no. So I Tank Dell, we're pouring one out for him. Like we said, Puka Nakua, we expect him to play. Christian Kirk, you're going to pour one out for him. He's basically done for the season, which I want to circle back to him here in a little bit. Demario Douglas is
Mhm.
still in the concussion protocol, which really concerns me because this is like the third game he's going to miss due to that concussion. And we've seen some of these guys from a concussion after 1 week. Some guys miss one game, some guys miss two. He's missing his third one now, if I'm not mistaken. Like we've talked about concussions. I think these are the most honestly the most difficult and severe injuries for these players because they're never the same. It's not like, okay, if I get a high ankle sprain, it's this long. If I
Yeah.
get, a hamstring injury, it's going to be this long. If I have, a sports hernia, okay, it's 4 to 6 weeks. We know that. We don't know with these concussions because none of them are ever the same. So I'm really concerned about Demario Douglas. I think he's the best wide receiver on New England by a long shot. So it really stinks that he's going to be out, and we have no idea whether or not he's coming back.
Yeah.
As for all the other guys, I think you pretty much, hit it all on the head. Welcome back, Justin Jefferson. Uh, I missed you. My fantasy teams missed you. We're glad to have you back.
Let's see. Tight ends. I only had 3 tight ends written down here that were of any relevance. We've already talked about TJ Hawkinson being one of them. He should be back to 100% after seeing that slight decrease in his production the 2 weeks before the bye. Taysom Hill has been dealing with a foot and a hand injury, and he's not practiced at all this week, so he's not likely to play week 14 versus Carolina. They have not said he's even a game time decision, but they also haven't completely ruled him out. So we still have to kind of wait, but it's not looking good for Taysom Hill to play. And he's one of those kind of guys where if you decided to stream tight ends, or if you've been desperate at tight end, you picked him up and you've been playing him and you've been getting decent numbers out of him. So you're probably still starting him because you don't have one of the top tier tight ends. So that's a guy. If you need come Sunday morning, if you need advice on who to start, and you have a list of about 4 or 5 of them out there on your free agent market, send it to us on Title Time Sunday morning, and we'll help you out with that. And then the last one we'll talk about, man, is Dallas against Dallas. We got Dallas Goedert is expected to make his big return against the Dallas Cowboys this week. Now, it's still not 100%, but he's leaning that direction, and it is highly expected that he will play. And he's coming off of a broken forearm as well. So I'm not used to, like, I get the broken forearm. It most likely wasn't a very bad fracture. And even when he landed and he turned, it didn't look like anything was like completely out of whack. So it probably wasn't a very bad fracture. But I just don't know what to expect of him coming back, and especially going against that Dallas Cowboys defense. I still may start him depending on what the reports are saying and on what your other options are. But there's a pretty solid chance that with my playoffs on the line this week, I might still bench him if I have even a reasonable other option this week. But it's going to be a tough call to make. Like, I wouldn't fault anybody for going ahead and starting him as well, because he was like the tight end 6 or 8 in a lot of formats when he got hurt. So still very productive tight end. So I don't know, George. What do you think?
So if I was still in the Scott Fish Bowl, I'd be starting Dallas Goddard this week. I've got him in like 3 or 4 different leagues. He's starting in every single one. He's practiced 2 straight days. That they're expecting him to be back. The matchup is a great matchup, all things considered. Dallas's offense has been putting up points. That means Philadelphia is going to have to put up points as well. The game is in Dallas. I think he's going to be. I think you could slot him right back in as a top 12 tight end going forward. If you're looking at guys that you've been streaming and whatnot, like I would, unless you got a bona fide week in week out starter. If you've been playing the streaming life with tight ends, if you got Dallas Goddard, I'm putting him in over all your typical streamers and not looking back. Um, another guy, the guys I really wanted to hit on real quick, if you don't mind. Dalton Schultz is also probably going to miss this week. He's still dealing with the hamstring strain. Um, he has not practiced at all this week. I don't know if he's been officially ruled out or not. I think he actually has. Um, but so that's somebody, if you're trying to replace a Dalton Schultz, bam, Dallas Goddard. Thank you very much. The last two more, Darren Waller. We've been talking about him. We talked about him last week. He's coming off short-term IR. He's not playing this week. They expect him to be ready by next week. So if you've been doing the streaming life, you're looking for a tight end. Darren Waller is a guy. When he comes back, I also don't mind throwing him right into the starting lineup. Um, I think he gives you a better opportunity than any of the your typical streamers that you've been out there doing the streaming life. Better than the guys, up in Chicago. Better than the guys over in Los Angeles. Both teams. It's just I just think he's a better player than all of those guys, and I expect Tommy DeVito to pepper him with targets again. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about Hayden Hurst. Um, every year, uh, I participate in the Hayden Hurst Mental Health Foundation's Podathon. Um, it's recently been diagnosed that he had when the concussion he uh, had a couple of weeks ago. His dad put out on Twitter that he had he's been diagnosed with a specific type of amnesia. He says Hayden that he doesn't remember the 4 hours after um, that concussion. Like none of that is there for him. He doesn't remember any of it. So when dealing with these concussions like that, that's why I said earlier these things absolutely scare me the most uh, because you really don't know what these guys are dealing with. It's just it's crazy. The official word from his dad is that Hayden's been diagnosed with post-traumatic amnesia by an independent neurologist as a result of the hit he took in Chicago November 19th. Slow recovery, don't know when he'll be back. Uh, so that was coming straight from his dad. And then coming from Hayden Hurst himself, said, I appreciate everyone reaching out, checking on me. I suffered a pretty nasty concussion against the Bears a few weeks ago and don't remember up to 4 hours after the game. Scary situation. Panthers have been incredible walking me through this process. Um, he said, while it was scary, it is not career ending. I'm starting to return to play this week, so fingers crossed I make it back for the last few weeks. So
Man,
it's one of these things with the concussion. Like I'm extremely happy for Hayden. Screw the football player. I'm happy for
yeah,
Hayden the man. Anybody
yeah.
who knows his story knows he's gone through a lot, and I'm just glad to hear that he's just okay.
Yeah, yeah, and we're right there with you, Pete. But yeah, so my thing is, man, it's the Carolina Panthers at this point. Like, just shelve it. You're 30 years old, so you're still young. Like, maybe not by NFL standards, but with your life, you're still young. You still got a shot to play a couple more years in this league. You've been a career journeyman, like not like the general sense of the word, where most journeymen aren't productive, but he's been able to be productive no matter where he's gone, even as a backup to some of the best tight ends. And then when given the shot to start, he's been very productive. He's a good player. Like just I'd like to see them just shelve it, just put him on the shelf for the rest of the season and let him come back healthy. But he's a competitor, man. If he's cleared and he can play, he's going to want to be out there. So
That's
I guess I can't
exactly
fault
what
him for that either.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's not in this guy's DNA or really
Yeah,
any NFL player's DNA to want to shut it down and not go out there and compete on the field. Like we've
yeah,
got to remember, this is what they've spent a majority of their life doing.
right,
So for us to sit here and say, yeah, you should just shut it down for like the last couple of games, you've got nothing to play for. While logically to us that makes sense, like these guys don't have that mentality. If there's a
right,
way they can get on the field, they're going to want to get on the field, whether it's with better judgment or not. That's just what they're going to do.
right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, so George, just throw it out there one last time. Title time Sunday morning.
Yep.
Joinrival.com/title tribe. Oh, if any of your guys' fantasy football, well, all of your fantasy football seasons are starting to come to an end. If you're a commissioner of any of your leagues and you'd like to send out a ring or a title belt to your league's champion, make sure you go to trophysmack.com/title tribe and order your league at ring and trophy or belt that way. It helps support
Well,
the network. It also gets you a small discount, and you get a real fine product from those guys over at Trophy Smack.
or if you want to order your league a punishment, like if you want to have
Oh
your
yeah,
guy out there in a yellow banana singlet that says "I suck at fantasy," standing on the street corner holding a sign that says I lost my fantasy league. Like
yeah,
you can find that there as well. And I honestly I think that's actually more impressive than a title that says you won. Like embarrass
yeah.
the hell out of the last place guy. That's what fantasy is really about.
That's right. And if you just want the free entertainment, then just follow the guys on Trophy Smack over
Yep.
on TikTok because they actually post all of those punishments on TikTok. They have
Yep.
their office league where if you get last place just in
Lowest
points
score.
for that one
Yep.
week, yeah, lowest score for that one week, you have to face one of these punishments. And while you're there, believe it or not, your guys here at Toilets and Titles also have a TikTok channel. That's not super popular, but we're trying to build it. So give us a follow over there as well. But and yeah, I think that's it, George. I don't. This is the last. This was the last episode of this one, and it was our only live of the season. I think it went well, my man. But I
Oh yeah.
appreciate you coming up with this idea last year, and hopefully we can run this back next season.
Absolutely. I think we need to run it back next season. Like I absolutely enjoy doing these shows with you. This one, while the subject matter is one of very sensitive nature when you're talking about injuries, like it's also a very vital part of the game that we all love and play, much to our detriment. Like it's
Yeah.
not. Listen, fantasy football is not good for your mental health. Anybody who says otherwise is lying. So, but no, it's a pleasure doing the show. One of the ones I absolutely look forward to, and we're definitely gonna have to run it back this year.
Right on, right on. All right. So, y'all, good luck with your fantasy playoffs. And don't forget,
Yep.
moving forward for the rest of this fantasy playoff season, hit us up in the Gilded, hit us up on our Twitter handles. If you have any questions about injuries or who to start, who to pick up, all of that sort of stuff. We have specific channels in our Team Gilded chat just for that. So, we're always willing to help. So, just
Yep.
let us know if you need anything. All right. Have a great night. Oh, wait. It's the last one. So we got to do our outro.
Go for it.